We're going to start this first panel because when we look at where we are, right? When we look at where we are as a community, we got to understand where we came from, how it even started, give acknowledgement to those sheroes and heroes that was before us. You know, the Eddie Ellis. Yeah. Call out some of their names. Bring them into the space. Yeah. Yeah. No, thank y'all for that. Thank y'all for that, for bringing some of the ancestors into the space. And the panel that we're about to have now, we ain't saying that it's all the history. We ain't saying that other folks didn't contribute and put their shoulder to the plow. This is just our attempt to document some of the history of how we got to where we are today. You know something? Y'all look good. Y'all look good. Y'all look powerful. Y'all look like a group to be reckoned with. You know? And so we just wanna document just a little bit of that history of how we got here today. So I'm gonna introduce the first panel. I'm gonna do it rapid fire. You all got much longer bios in your packet. I think y'all have met the Godfather, Dorsey Nunn, in many ways one of the fathers of the movement. I'm gonna ask Susan Burton. Where's Susan? Doing amazing things for women in California. The work that you've done, you know, for women is amazing. So I just want to lift that up. And then I'm gonna ask Vivian Nixon to join us from College and Community Fellowship in New York, breaking glass ceilings, kicking open doors for women in higher education, to really acknowledge and affirm that, you know, your aspirations, your current condition doesn't set your aspirations and your dreams. That's right. So, you know, opening up access to education changes lives. And she's doing that for women in higher ed in New York and across the country. I'm gonna ask Glenn Martin, Chief Risk Taker. Glenn thought enough of our community that a few years ago, he saw a gap that existed in training and technical assistance and really investing in the next wave of leadership. So he left some of his comfort and privilege and said, I'm gonna start this thing for us. You know, in Just Leadership, they're doing amazing training work, building an army of impacted advocates across the country. I'm gonna ask Pastor Kenny Glasgow to come to the stage. Pastor Glasgow at the Ordinary People Society, amongst the many pieces of work that they do, whether it's legislative advocacy, whether it's meeting homelessness, whether it's feeding folks, meeting their most direct needs, because see, Pastor understood, you know, before Jesus. Before Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount, he broke 2 fish and 5 loaves, and he fed them folks a little bit, right? He fed them. because he knew they weren't going to hear nothing that he had to say with some growling, hungry stomachs. So Glasgow understand that sometimes the best organizing strategy is meeting people's most basic needs, meeting them right where they are. And so he organizing in Alabama, Georgia, Florida, across the Southeast, changing lives. So where's LaFontaine? Where's Manuel? There he is, Manuel LaFontaine. Manuel is really the soul of this group. He keeps us honest, keeps us interrogating our own privilege. Are we opening up access? Are we making room? You know, so yeah, I really appreciate what he brings into the leadership and into the space, making sure that we are authentic ourselves. And then we got Norris Henderson. So I'm just gonna be a little transparent here. For me, you know, I try to consider myself, you know, a pretty composed and steady guy. But I had those days where, man, I even want a man like, man, what's going on? And when you want a steady voice, a steady hand on the tiller, you call Norris. You call Norris. Norris anchors this movement. So this is the group. We're gonna tell you just a little bit about the history of how we got here today, and then we're gonna keep it moving.
So first of all, I'm like Susan. I want all y'all that's formerly incarcerated to stand up. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. We may be ugly, we may be broke, but thank God we here.
I'm not ugly or broke.
We are here. So in learning the history, real quick, Darcy already went over who helped get us here. Asha Bondell and Gabriel Sayers, stand up one more time. Asha, amen. And Gabriel, I don't see Gabriel in the house. When funders say we couldn't do it, when nobody wanted to fund us and give us a chance, those two people put their life on the line. They put their job on the line and said, no, we supposed to be working to help y'all to get to where y'all need to be and speaking your own voice, and we gonna give you the money if it costs us our job. Because some of us got to realize this is our lives. This is not our jobs. In 2009, we came together, about 32 of us came together at a DPA conference in Mexico. We had a group of people that came together. My daughter, Kenyatta, I don't know where she's at. She took the notes. She still has those notes from that day. Michael Blaine, who is gone now, Robin Templeton is here. Where's Robin? Where's Robin in the back right there that has his son? He wanted to try to create an apparatus to get us all together. Before that, you had Eddie Ellis and all kind of different things. Him and Darcy and all of them came together. And somehow, some way, somebody wedged in there and always tried to split us up. But in 2009, we made up our mind, Michelle, that it wasn't going to happen no more. It ain't going to be nothing about us no more. And then in 2009, from then, we started all kind of communications. Darcy came up and wrote a letter. He called me and said, what you think about this letter? We constructed the letter, we sent it out. The next person we called was Susan Burton. We called Susan, and Susan said, what other woman you called? We said, wait a minute, Susan, we called you first. We finna call Tina. And we called Tina Reynolds. Y'all know Manuel was already on the phone with Darcy, so we ain't have to call him. Y'all know that, right? And then we called Bruce. Where Bruce at? Bruce Riley. We called Bruce. And as we were calling Bruce, I was trying to call Norris. And as I was calling Norris, we was trying to think about who else we could get. And then we started this. In 2011, they came to Alabama. We hosted it. We walked across the Emmons Pettus Bridge. We turned around and we had to walk backwards because we let them know, y'all keep wanting to go across this thing forward, but we got to go back and get some things right first. Y'all left a whole bunch of people behind. When y'all got voting rights, y'all let them take ours. When y'all got civil rights, y'all didn't give us none. So we had to go back and get ours. And then we turned around, they wouldn't let us walk on that bridge, and we had this crazy Mexican, is he Mexican? Named Steve Herta. Where's Steve at? And Steve put together, and Steve said, well, let's call them. I'm gonna get my people together and call them. Well, we had a problem with that because we didn't even know if they were gonna understand them. We talking about people in Alabama now. They could barely understand each other. How they gonna understand your accent? And Steve put together this telephone call apparatus. We called after about 1,000 calls. They didn't only shut it down and let us have one side. They gave us the whole bridge. And from there, we had all of these conference calls, and we had a lot of people. We gained weight, about 40 different delegates across the country. We went to Pennsylvania. We did the voting apparatus there when they tried to stop everybody from voting. I'm saying this real quick. And then all of a sudden, we got 2 superstars. Oh, y'all say superstars. Mess around and met with this young man that called himself a lawyer. Now, I was still trying to figure out, was he a jailhouse lawyer or a real lawyer? And come to find out, he really had a degree in a bar license. And after I heard him talk, I said, this Negro here could talk, boy. And he messed around and said, man, y'all want to go to the White House, this and that and the other. We told him all our plans. He said, well, I'm going to walk you in the door. We were like, yeah, we done heard that before. Me and Darcy done been out here 10, 15 years. Susan about as old as we is. Tina catching up real quick. Norris done gave 27 years of his life, and here you come gonna walk us in the door. Yeah, okay, we done heard that before. And I think it was about a year later, he really walked us in the door. And we met this other superstar from over there in New York City called Glenn Martin. And Glenn, I didn't know he had all of these different functions, and he had Vivian with him. And Vivian wanted to try to tell me how to talk, and I had to tell her, wait a minute, I know you're an educator, but I'm from the South. I could get away with talking like that. And we got together with this lady named Amy Solomon that took us to this lady that's sitting here before you that y'all will see after a while named Karen Mason. And she was just a little old short lady, look average, wasn't nothing real big or bad about her. But she happened to be the boss. And when they came to meet us, it was supposed to be 14 people we met in the Department of Justice, 14 directors, and she told every last one of them to be there or be gone. She can't say it, but I'm going to say it for her. She threatened their job. And they was there. And they was there because they had to listen to us, but something transformed in that meeting. In that meeting, they turned around and didn't see formerly incarcerated people no more. In that meeting, they didn't see ex-felons no more, y'all. In that meeting, they didn't see ex-convicts no more. In that meeting, they seen people who had been incarcerated. Subject matter experts. Experts by experience. Serving our country after serving our time. And all of this work, y'all, we couldn't be in a better place at a better time as I get ready to take my seat. Because all of this work stemmed from a man. And I don't care. I told him something. I ain't gonna let Dawson Nunn name ever die. And if we don't do nothing else today, I want y'all to highlight that name, Darcy, Darcy, Darcy. As I get ready to take my seat, I thank God that my mama's here. After all those years, Mama Tina's back there. She limping and on the cane now, but she's still here. And she able to see her son go through all that prison when nobody else would help me when she had to pawn her car for $200 to get me out. And that's a little short version. That's a little short version of how we got here. But I'm not going to go through the extravagant details and all that of what all we went through. But I am going to say this before I leave, just to get your attention. We thank God because now I can really say that we got Michelle stand up, which is the partner of Chloe, that's standing right there, sitting right there by Asha, sitting right there by Gabriel, and had enough sense to say, wait a minute, I'm going to change this funding thing a little bit. I'm going to start looking at who look good on paper and see who look good out there on the ground. And so we here, y'all. We here because of all the fights that Susan, Vivian, and Glenn, and Manuel, and all the fights that Norris and Dorsey and all of us went through. But we mostly here because God has got us here in the place now where we done seen a civil rights movement and we transcended from civil rights to human rights. And if your heart and your mind ain't transcending with it, if your foundation and your organization ain't transcending with it, then you're going to be left behind.
So let the church say amen. Amen again. And amen one more time. I feel like we need to pass the collection plate. No, thank you for that so much, Pastor Glasgow. And, you know, he talked about some of those moments in the history of this movement, and I just ticked off a few. He talked about us at these different moments and periods, right? And so one of those moments was when we were in D.C. and we met with the Interagency Reentry Council, and Vivian Nixon had the opportunity to talk about the importance of education. That's right. And the importance of education in women's lives. And I just want to get her up here for a moment to give a few words on that, you know, and the case that you were making to the Department of Education. I mean, we had the heads of some folks there, you know, department heads of these various agencies with the federal government to hear directly from leaders. You know, we were leaders number one. Formerly incarcerated second, right? You know, leaders number one, formerly incarcerated second. That's right. And telling them exactly, you know, through our experiences and the work that we have been doing, what we believe to be true that our communities need, right? So here we are, and you all get to be a part of that to continue to shape what that looks like. So I want to bring Vivian up here to make the case on how important education was and is, and we need to still be continuing to push forward. Vivian.
I have to acknowledge my New Yorkers. New York in the house? Yeah. All right. And I got to acknowledge my girls' college and community fellowship graduates in the house. All right, represent. So I'm Vivian Nixon. I run an organization called College and Community Fellowship. Well, what's unique about my relationship with the organization is that I came to the organization when I got out of prison so that I could get help to get a college degree. What I realized in the process of getting my college degree was that getting the degree just wasn't about me getting a piece of paper so I could get a job. There are things I learned in that process about systemic injustice. There are things I learned in the educational process about structural racism. And I wanted to use that education to make a difference. What I realized in helping women get an education after they got out of prison is that I was helping them reclaim the person that they were before whatever road they got on to prison took them a place where they didn't want to go. Because none of us was born wanting to go to prison, wanting to be caged, wanting to be incarcerated. Stuff happens. But education frees the mind and the spirit. And that's what we strive to do at College and Community Fellowship. Well, after a few years doing that direct service work, helping once I graduated and they made me executive director, after a few years doing that work, I got this board member who felt that we could do more. Felt that we needed to expand educational opportunities, not just to the women we were working with, but to women who were still on the inside, because Pell Grants had been taken away in 1994. That board member, who is still on my board today, is Glenn Martin. And together, we founded the Education from the Inside Out Coalition, and we set out to dismantle any barrier that existed to education for incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people. In doing that, we have gotten the federal government to request that colleges reconsider asking the question on college applications. In doing that, we are about to get the state of New York University, the State University of New York, to remove the box from their application. And in doing that, we got or helped to get the Department of Education of the federal government to do a Pell Grant experiment where now there are colleges and prisons working together in, I believe, 28 states? And California's one of them, to provide Pell Grants to 12,000 people in prison. And that is only the beginning, because we are really fighting to pass what is known as the REAL Act, the Restoring Education and Learning Act. There are bills in both houses, and that would restore Pell Grant eligibility to incarcerated people permanently. So we're going to need your help with that. And I want to make it clear that education has many forms, and I believe in all forms of education. Not everybody is cut out for a liberal arts degree. Some people want to do paint. Some people want to write movies. Some people want to dig ditches. But education does something to open up your mind so that you can understand the socioeconomic circumstances that are holding you back and move forward. So help me promote education. I want to thank all of the partners in this room, our federal partners who are not in this room, in particular Carol Mason, who gave us a platform to express what our community really needs. This is my life's work, and it will always be. And seeing this room and the wonderful work that Darcy and his team did to pull this together, what little bit I contributed is negligible. What is not negligible, what is amazing, what is inspiring, is seeing the energy here that's just the seed of a beginning of a movement that will turn this nation on its head no matter who wins the election.
No, thank you for that so much, Vivian. So, like I said, we just wanted to document just a little bit of that history to give folks a little bit more context for how we got here, what we want to try to achieve together, and to, you know, just give an acknowledgement to some of that past work and help it to shape our way forward.
So I didn't plan to speak, right? But what's very important is when you hear the term, the slogan, all of us or none, it really means that. It's not merely a slogan, but it's a practice. The theories have to come down and materialize. So when I say all of us none, That includes not just black, brown, Amerindian, poor whites, women, people from the transsexual community, transgender community, but it also includes my comrades in the Asian Pacific Islander community. And I want to make sure I introduce Eddie Zhang and the rest of the comrades, Harrison Sekou and the rest of the comrades out there who tend to go overlooked when we speak about incarceration, who tend to go overlooked when we talk about the punishment system, because that's what it is. It's not the criminal justice system. It's a punishment system since 1492, right? So I'm not going to take much more time, right? And the other population also goes, I mean, there's many populations that become invisibilized, but it's also the Amerindian population, because we're in an Amerindian country. And if people are not familiar with the terminology of people from the First Nation, it's like being in South Africa, right? And having a discussion between whites and people from America without having Africans in the discussion. Sometimes it feels like they're in spaces because of how we've been conditioned, right? So I think it's important to bring those populations in the room in meaningful ways. Thank you very much.
I told y'all he keep it real with us all the time, you know what I mean? And brings that accountability into the space, man. And it's so important, so important.